Oh, hi there. What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Comics and Coffee here on Hyper Rabbit Power Go. For those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Adam Lavick, one of the resident idiots here. You might know me from Hyper Heroes, or you might know me from Comics and Coffee if you're a loyal viewer every single week. What's up, everyone? Hello. I've got the Twitch chat and the YouTube chat pulled up, so I'll be able to take questions and all kinds of stuff from both chat rooms. But what we do on this show every week, and normally Zach is here, but we've got a really crazy couple weeks going on with Anime Expo and Comic-Con and Gen Con and all kinds of stuff. Amir's already ruining something. But no, so Zach is really busy, so I'm flying solo this week. I try to read as many comics as I could. I read some really good stuff, some stuff that, was all right. But I am very excited to be here to talk to you guys and hang out. And I will be talking about Spider-Man Far From Home. I will not be talking spoilers because I'm very aware that a lot of people still have not seen that movie, so I don't want to spoil it for people. But I do want to have some light discussions about it. Just sort of give you my general thoughts about the movie. The official Keanu Reeves in the chat room. Oh, shit! You're breathtaking. Thank you so much. Please don't talk spoilers in the chat room. Please be respectful of all the other people who have not seen Spider-Man Far From Home yet. We will be doing a spoiler review on Hyper Heroes. So, are you turning me up there? Thanks, boo. Oh, there it is. Yeah, now we're cooking. I was going to wait on it, but, Amir's just getting anxious. He's excited. He wants to listen to music, too. No, so we will be doing a spoiler review from Spider-Man Far From Home. I don't want to spoil it for anybody in the chat room. And please don't spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it yet. It literally just came out today. Today is the official day that it's out, so let's give people a few days to see it. I know it's really fun and exciting to talk about spoilers, but I also want to make sure that we don't ruin the experience for anybody who hasn't seen it yet, because there's some really, really fun stuff to talk about. And I think next week, once Zach and I do Comics and Coffee, we'll have a little bit more of a longer discussion about the spoilers of Far From Home, and I'm sure we'll have him on our spoiler discussion for Hyper Heroes. I'm very excited to talk about that movie. I think there's a lot of stuff that's going on there and how it potentially propels the Marvel Cinematic Universe forward and what we can maybe expect from the future. So I think there's a lot of fun stuff. But thank you guys so much for joining. I'm so excited to see so many people here in the chat room today. I was very determined to try to read as much as I could, because Zach does a bulk of the majority of the reading, and he's reading a lot of Marvel stuff, and I usually tend to stick to the DC stuff, and he reads a lot of Marvel and indie stuff. And so, but I definitely dived into some of the indie stuff because I wanted to make sure that, we had some stuff to talk about, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, so I'm excited. There were some really great comics this week. I read a couple of these indie ones, and I was really happy about some of the stuff that I read. Some of it seems very promising and fun. Yeah, I think also something I definitely want to talk about is the Flash news, that we've got potentially a new director, new writer on that project. The Walking Dead is coming to an end. The comic book, at least, the comic book series. I believe it's ending with issue 183. Now, I have not read all of the volumes of The Walking Dead, so I'm not caught up. I don't really know what's happened in the story. I think I've honestly, truthfully, only read the first 3 or 4 volumes or 5 volumes. I bought them from my brother years ago, and he really got into it. He loved it, and I read some of them as well, and I really enjoyed it too, but I just never kept up with it. And now we're at the end with issue 1. I think it's 183, right? Just right before we get to 200, and I love how Robert Kirkman sort of did it, where he set it up to be a big surprise for people, because I think there's this constant anticipation for the finales and the wrap-ups and what they could be and what they could mean and if it's going to pay off all these certain things. So I feel like when you just sort of come out of the blue and you just present people like, hey, this is the finale, this is it, this is the end, I think it sort of throws people off, but they're very intrigued and curious to see how it ties up everything. So I don't know. If you guys have read it, I'd love to know what you guys thought, or if you're completely caught up. And do you think the series, the TV show on AMC, will sort of follow that blueprint and follow that work? Langley and Neely, what happened to the stream? I'm here, brother. We're here, baby. Hit refresh. Someone tell him to hit refresh. That's probably what's happening. Tori Flacco, what's going on? I used to read Walking Dead comics, but I was so into the show at the time, I only wanted to see the show. I get that. I'm very similar in terms of how I consume my media. If there is a book or a graphic novel or something that pre-exists and there's a movie or a show coming out, I tend to not read it because I don't really want to know the outcome, especially if it's just a straight-up adaptation. When there's a lot of liberties taken and they change up, characters and story arcs and events, then I'm a little more open to reading it, but I really do like going into the show or film, not really knowing too much. That was kind of the reason why I stayed away from Walking Dead, the comics, for a long time, and I don't think I started reading those first few volumes until I think the show was already in its 4th season or something. Hit refresh, baby! It does look great from here. Amir knows how to make me look good. Shit. Thanks, Amir. You're the best. Weird music. Hey, guys, listen. When we do these streams, when we used to do it with the cartoons in the background, we got a copyright, not a copyright strike, but we got hit with a DMCA claim by Warner Brothers and then Disney, and then we've had some music stuff. So we're trying to stay away from anything that is not royalty free. So we've got this awesome playlist running right now from Spotify, baby. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's true. Annoying Ranter. Good pointing that out. I mean, it's Stranger Things Night, Season 3, or just Stranger Things 3 as they're calling it. I'm very excited. I really wanted to try and binge watch the first 2 seasons. I didn't get a chance to. So there's a possibility that before I watch Season 3, probably this weekend, I will try to rewatch Seasons 1 and 2. The thing I love about Stranger Things is it's very easy to watch that show. Episodes 1 through 8. I think it's because they keep it to a nice, tight 8 episodes. It really, really works for me. And I feel like they streamline the story with 8 episodes. I know we've talked ad nauseum about the Marvel Netflix shows and how they always drag it out to 13 episodes, and by the time we get to episode 8 and 9, I'm kind of ready for this story to wrap up. What in the world? So yeah, I'm very excited for Stranger Things 3. It looks like a very, very fun and spoopy season, and I believe we're having one more. I think Stranger Things 4 will be the last one. And that should be exciting. I'm very curious to see how they sort of wrap up the story and what goes on. When does it come out? Midnight PST? I think Netflix has control. I think they're able to do a time zone rollout. I could be wrong, but I think they're actually able to do it by time zone. Or maybe it'll just be out at 9 p.m. our time, which if it is, I might just start it. Why not? Yeah, so I'm very excited about that. Uberbaldi, Adam, did Far From Home do Prague good? Let me tell you something. As a Czech person who barely gets any damn movies not only shot in Prague or the Czech Republic, but also is actually the city that they're in, they're shooting in the same city that's supposed to represent. Prague a lot of times is a stand-in for Moscow and, cities in Austria and Germany and a whole bunch of stuff. And it's a little irritating. There's very few movies where Prague is Prague. And I know Mission Impossible, I think, is probably the first Mission Impossible is probably one of the biggest ones. Blade 2, I think it's the only other superhero movie that actually takes place and is shot in Prague, or parts of it at least. I think the same thing can be said for a few other movies like Triple X. That's not a superhero movie though. Hey, shut your car off, stoop! Yeah, so I was really excited that Spider-Man was going to Prague and Prague was going to be Prague. So we were sitting in the theater last night and, I got a little emotional. Look, Czech Republic is not a very big country, and it's such a beautiful country, and Prague is such a beautiful city. And it felt so good to go into a theater and to watch the city that, I love, and I didn't necessarily grow up in it, but I have visited Prague so many times throughout my life. And I love it, and it's so beautiful. It feels so good to be able to sit in a superhero movie and watch Spider-Man, doing his thing in this movie and seeing all the other characters in that city. And they shot they shot other cities to stand in for Prague, but those cities are also in the Czech Republic. So it felt really good just being able to like see signage and stuff in Czech and hear people talking in Czech. There's like this is not a spoiler, but there's like a news reporter who's talking about what's been going on. And he's talking in Czech, and it was really cool because I could understand it. So that was great. I love that. Yeah, I got my Hobbs and Shaw swag. So for the other you guys who don't know, last Tuesday, we were very, very lucky, and we got invited by NBC Universal to come out to the Auto Club Speedway up in Fontana, and they showed us the trailer for Hobbs and Shaw. They put us, well, we watched it while we were in a McLaren, and then we watched it drifting around the track in a Dodge Hellcat, and it was crazy. It was so sick. It was so fun. We had a great time. It's up on the YouTube channel. YouTube has been kind of weird in the last few weeks. We've had some, I don't want to say issues with the platform, but the platform is definitely doing really weird stuff with content. Some stuff is not being seen by as many people, and there's a whole lot of things and reasons why that's going on. I'm not going to bore you with any of that nonsense. All I will say is if you have not watched it, and if you're watching on YouTube right now and you are subscribed, make sure you guys hit the bell to get all notifications on all the content that we're posting. Whoa, who's this guy? Who's this? I did. Both of them. Yeah, I haven't watched it yet, but I'm excited to watch it. We should do some cut downs. Oh, damn! What was it? Oh, come on, Zach. All right, so we got a couple of emails today. One was from NBC Universal. They loved our video. They thought it was really great, which was awesome. They also sent us some footage that the production team had shot, which was great. And then also we got some stuff from the actual Speedway. They sent us some stuff. And I think we're going to cut it up and do some additional little fun videos where we're going to show you guys our individual races. But apparently Zach did not get a really high top speed, which with those cars, because I'm not sure what car he drove. I know Augustine drove a Lamborghini. I drove a Ferrari 488. And I'm pretty sure I hit my top speed at like 120, 125, which you can push those cars faster. Those freaking things will go 130, 140. It's absolutely insane how fast those cars will go. Zach had a Porsche. That's what it was. I was a little nervous about trying to hit 140. But we'll post those. I think we'll probably do them on social media. You'll probably see them. You'll definitely see them on Twitter and Instagram TV and all that sort of stuff. Will we post them on YouTube? I don't really know. That might be like an additional vlog or something that we might post closer to the release of Hobbs and Shaw. But that being said, it was a very fun experience. Thank you so much, NBC Universal. They were so nice to invite myself, Zach, and Augustine. Hector couldn't make it, unfortunately. But we had a really good time. And yeah, they gave us some swag. And, you know, I'm just so stoked for that movie. I cannot wait to watch Hobbs and Shaw. I've been watching all the Fast and Furious movies leading up to Fast 5 because this weekend Hector and I are going to Augustine's house. We're going to do a double feature of Fast 5 and Fast and Furious 6. And I'm so excited. Augustine has never seen any of the Fast and the Furious movies. So he's been binge watching. He did the Fast and the Furious, Too Fast, Too Furious, Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, and he just finished Fast and Furious. I've watched everything up to Tokyo Drift, so I just need to rewatch Fast and Furious because it's been a few years since I've watched those movies, and I want to be completely refreshed going into Fast and Furious. Also, if you're on Patreon, if you're on YouTube and you're part of our Patreon, or even on Twitch if you're part of our Patreon, we are going to be filming our Men in Black commentary this Friday. We had to delay it. Hector has some adult stuff he had to take care of, so we unfortunately were not able to film it last Friday. So we will be doing that. That will be going up this weekend as well. I've been watching the movie with commentary, and it's been very insightful and interesting to get a handle on how that movie barely was a movie when they were making it. Very fascinating. Very, very fascinating. What's up, everybody? Jumping into the Twitch chat and the YouTube chat. It's so nice to see so many of you out here. I really appreciate you guys hanging out. I know, it's kind of the middle of the day. Well, it's the middle of the day for us. I guess it's the evening for a lot of you guys if you're on the East Coast and stuff. But I appreciate you guys hanging out. And I'm excited for Comic-Con. Comic-Con is very close. We're only 2 weeks away. It's an interesting Comic-Con. Very interesting. There's not a whole lot, as of right now, as of yet, not a whole lot of stuff that I'm necessarily invested in when it comes to Comic-Con. I know the Rousseau brothers are having a Q&A chat on Friday morning. Marcus and McFeely are having one right before them. I do want to go to those. I think that will be very insightful and interesting to see not only what those guys did to make Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, and all the previous Marvel movies that they worked on work, and the process of what it took to make those, but I'm also just very interested to see what they're going to do after this. You know, the Russo brothers have a production company called Agbo Productions, and they're trying to create, it seems like they're creating a lot of content, and they're producing a lot of stuff for digital streaming platforms. They've got a theatrical film coming out with Chadwick Boseman, so I'm very excited to see, you know, what these directors are going to work on, and potentially what they're going to be, how they're going to create opportunities for other people, and what those stories are going to be, because I think there's an opportunity for these guys to really be able to allow a lot of creators to come into their production house and to help these guys and, you know, these men and women tell stories. I think that could be really, really fun. Yeah, so, you know, and in terms of Comic-Con, I'm going, Hector's going, Augustine is going. There's a few other people from Hyper that are going. So I think it's going to be a really chill Comic-Con. So we'll see. We're not going to do a lot of coverage like we did last year. We're really just going to focus on the stuff that we know will work for the majority of the YouTube audience, and will get us views, honestly, because there was some stuff we did last year that didn't really get us views, and you know, it took up a lot of our time, and it took up a lot of just energy, if I'm being quite honest. It was a lot of work. And, you know, we've got other stuff that we're doing here. You know, there's Gen Con coming up, and Anime Expo, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And, you know, then later on during the year, we're going to do TwitchCon, obviously. Or I think we're going. I'm making an assumption. I'm saying yes, only because it's in San Diego again. And any opportunity that I have to go down there to hang out with my friends and have California burritos, I'll take that up. Any word on a San Diego Comic-Con meetup? We're talking about it. We're trying to figure it out. I would like to do something, but we'll see. I don't want to make any promises. It really depends on the Comic-Con schedule and other people's schedules, and see how things line up. I know Hector has actual like work he has to go down there for, so we'll see. I don't want to say yes and then it doesn't happen, but I'm hoping that we can figure something out within the next like week or so, because I want to try to get it out there and tell people as early as possible, because I feel like the longer we wait, you know, last year it happened quite a bit that you know, we had a lot of people after Comic-Con who said like, oh, I didn't know you guys had a meetup, I wish I would have known, I would have been there. And, you know, so I want to try to let people know as early as possible so we can have a discussion and hang out and have a drink or whatever the case may be. I don't know, but we'll see. I do believe Malika posted something in the Discord about asking people if they were going to Comic-Con and what day. I think that's always the biggest thing for us, is like finding the day where the most people are there, because we don't want to do it on a Thursday, but only, you know, a fifth of the people that are going to be there will actually be there. But yeah, last year's meetup was really fun. I had a really good time hanging out with people. So we'll probably do something very similar if we have the opportunity to do it. You know, just meet up at a bar or something and just hang out and spend some time together and chat for a little bit. Ronan Unchained, that SDCC 2018 coverage was amazing. It was amazing. It also was very expensive. You know, Comic-Con hotels are not cheap at all. Like, I got a Comic-Con hotel this year, and it's $1,000. It's $1,000 that, like, I kind of don't have to spend on a Comic-Con hotel. I'm going to try to figure it out, though. So, whatever. You know, it's Comic-Con. If I wanted to make my life easy, I would just stay with my family, and I wouldn't even pay for a hotel. But some of the panels, you know, are early in the morning, so just taking a Lyft and an Uber down there is just kind of a pain in the boot, you know what I mean? Did Zach like Spider-Man? You'll find out. Zach hates Spider-Man, guys. Come on. See, Amir knows what's up. Amir knows what's good. Zach, how'd you feel about Spider-Man? He wants to see it again. You didn't get an answer. Sorry, guys. Ooh, he hasn't decided where it falls yet. Okay. That means that we're going to have a nice discussion next week about it, or on the spoiler review. Look, so let's talk about Spider-Man Far From Home. As promised, I will not be talking spoilers. Please do not spoil it for anybody in the chat. Please. Let's get through the weekend. Let's let people enjoy the movie. But I really, really liked it. There's one little nitpicky thing that Cameron brought up, and I think it's very valid, and it's also something that like I was thinking about when I left the movie that I can't discuss. but maybe a lot of you will notice it as well. But I really did like the movie. I loved the fact that Spider-Man got to go on an adventure outside of Queens, outside of New York. I thought that was really, really fun. Obviously, because of the events of the previous couple of movies, that plays a huge role in this film and how it impacts Peter. And I like how that influenced him as a character, though I will say I hope that going forward that the impact that the greater Marvel Universe has, I of course want it to continue to influence the Spider-Man universe or Peter's universe, because he's a part of that, so it should. But I don't want it to continue to be dependent upon the events of what happened in a greater Avengers world. I also just want Spider-Man to be Spider-Man and have his stories be his stories. And I think there's like a balance. I think there's a balance where you can kind of go back and forth, where there is an influence that's heavy and then it's not as heavy. And I think there's a opportunity to shift around and do all sorts of stuff. I really like the stuff that they did with Mysterio. I thought visually it looked really, really cool. I thought the effects were cool. I thought the effects for Spider-Man's suit were actually better in this film than they were in Homecoming. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, for the Spider-Man suit, they remove all the wrinkles digitally. So I'm sorry to all the visual effects artists who have to paint out all those GD wrinkles out of that damn suit, because I'm sure that is not fun. It takes a lot of work. But overall, it was a really fun story. I really liked the character of MJ. I know from the last movie, people were all up in arms about that character and her being Mary Jane, or the Mary Jane of this universe. I really like her. I really like the fact that she gets to be her own character, and we really understand kind of who she is as a character, and she feels very three-dimensional, whereas I thought, Kirsten Dunst and Emma Stone, while I liked them, I didn't feel like they were, I didn't feel like they were as well-rounded and three-dimensional like Zendaya is in these Spider-Man movies. So I really like her. Jacob Batalon as Ned Leeds is great. Tony Revolori as Flash is great. I think all the supporting characters are great. Martin Starr is great in this movie. All around, really great cast. And it's more of what John Watts did in the first movie, and just had fun with Spider-Man, and really did a great job of capturing that high school element of Spider-Man. And we rewatched Homecoming last night before we saw it. And man, that movie just does a really good job of just capturing what it means to be a high school kid, and in the modern age too. And I think that's kind of difficult when your writers of your movie are not young kids, and I don't really know how they sort of handle that. If that ultimately kind of falls on the shoulders of the actors as well. If they kind of sit down with them and they say like, hey, how does this scene play out? Let's block it out. Let's see how it feels. And if they're on set on the day of, working with people like Zendaya and Tom Holland and seeing how it works and all that stuff. I don't disagree. I think Emma Stone was great as Gwen Stacy. I think acting-wise, she was great. I just think in terms of who she was as a character, they really have made this MJ feel great as a singular character who can stand apart from Spider-Man. Gwen Stacy very much kind of heavily depended upon Spider-Man and Peter. I wish they would have given her a little bit more of like her own individuality, which I think we saw more of in The Amazing Spider-Man 1, but a little less in Amazing Spider-Man 2. But I think as an actor, she was great. I thought they were great. I thought they had good chemistry. But yeah. So, it is what it is. Yeah, see, it seems like quite a few people in the chat room agree that, this new MJ is a great MJ. I like Zendaya. I think she's got her quirks and she's great. She plays it so well. She's got really great quippy like one-liners and talkbacks to Peter, and I think it works great. I don't know. I really like it. I was a big fan of the Spider-Man Far From Home movie. Yeah, it's also very hard to talk about without kind of getting into spoiler territory, but action sequences were great. It was nice to see them jump around so many cities, and again, while I was sitting there, it's fun to look and see things that, from Prague and Berlin, things that we had sort of seen on our trips, whether it was locations or like, even in Berlin, I think there was like a train stop that we even stopped at. So it was a really fun movie. It was literally National Lampoon's European Vacation, just a superhero version of that. And it was fun. Like, I don't know. It's a really fun movie. I think it did a great job of closing out Phase 3 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and sets up a lot of questions for Phase 4, or whatever this next phase will be. And I'm just really excited. At some point, I know I will sit down and I will watch all 23 movies back to back to back to back to back to back, whether it's on a daily basis or whatever it may be. And I think it'll be really, really fun. How was Jake? Jacob Adelon? He's great. He's great. He's such a great partner in crime for Peter Parker, and he plays it so well, and it's great. It's really good. I really like all the characters. There's some really great funny moments. Some stuff, I won't say what. It's not I don't think it's a spoiler, but you know, there's some stuff that was in the trailers that was not in the movie, and I don't really think that affects the movie at all. If anything, I think it made it tighter. That they just kind of like get into the story. I think it works better, but I know some people will be talking about it of the why. And look, some stuff just ends up on the cutting room floor because it slows the story down. I think that's totally fine. So, yeah, I really do want to watch Euphoria. I've heard it's really, really good. The trailers have all been extremely, extremely captivating. So I cannot wait to see what that show's about, what Zendaya, who Zendaya is in that show, what her character is. Super Mega Ultra Hyperforce asks, what order will you watch the movies in? You know, I know a lot of people sort of get very particular about how they watch these Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. Some go in chronological order. Some, you know, I don't know, they have their own twist, timeline order, or whatever. I just like going in the release order. For me, it's just easy. You know, I don't necessarily want to have to like look up, okay, how many months did this movie take place after, you know, such and such movie? You know, whatever. I don't want to get too hung up on that because I feel like there's conflicting timelines. I mean, you look at Spider-Man Homecoming, it says 8 years later. That caused such a huge debate between fans and stuff. And I watch it in the order that it came out, and there's no questions asked how you should watch it. Just watch it that way, and you're good to go. I know I'll definitely be playing around with some stuff. I think once Endgame comes out on Blu-ray, I will create my own Roadshow version that has Infinity War and Endgame connected with like a musical like intermission. I don't know. It's just dumb stuff that I like to do. So, Smile Bump question: if Disney hired you to make a Star Wars film or Star Wars series, and you have an unlimited budget, what would it be about? That's a really good question. I mean, I know I've said this a lot. I would really like to explore the Knights of the Old Republic territory. Seems like that is going to be happening. Seems like that will be happening. So, I don't know. That's a good question. I would like to explore part of the Star Wars universe that has not been explored before. That would probably mean going into the future. I would really like to go into the future, maybe 100 years after the fall of the Empire and the First Order and all that sort of stuff, and just get away from the Skywalker saga and see what new stories, what new characters we can bring in. Is there a resurgence in the Jedi? What does that mean? You know, all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, that's probably what I would do. Something different. I would honestly probably make it a series. I think a series nowadays allows you to tell a lot more story and build up a lot more character. And there's not as much pressure like in a 2-hour movie to kind of compress everything into 120, 130 pages. Akasan, what's up, man? Those deleted scenes from the trailer will become a one-shot movie on the Blu-ray, Peter's to-do list. That's right. You are correct. I did read that. So that's great. You're going to still get to see those scenes. And, you know, you'll get to experience it regardless. How do you drink your coffee, Adam? Clear. If I already had 2 cups of coffee today, and when I had my second cup of coffee, my hands started shaking. You shut your butt. You shut your butt, Zach. Man. Yeah, I was having the shakes earlier. So I was like, you know what? Third cup is not on the cards for me today, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Louis Bob, what series of movies have you wanted to watch but haven't started? Series of movies. I don't really know if there's a series of movies. I feel like I've at least watched one or two of a series of movies. I don't know. Make a list. Put it in the chat room and I'll let you know. I'm not touching any Zack Snyder questions with a 45,000-foot pole. I'm just going to leave that there. So, let's get into some comics. I've been rambling on enough. This is called Comics and Coffee. Hot damn it, we're going to talk about some comics. This was a good week. Zach left the iPad on my desk and said, hey, there's a lot of number ones. There were a lot of number ones. And I read through the majority of them. I don't think I missed. I think the only number ones I missed we're potentially, let me see here. Let's see. So there were about, I guess it was just one. Number one that I didn't get to. Two. There are some volume ones, which, for this show, there are some volume ones or some volumes that I will read. I try to stay to the single issues, mostly because, with a volume one, I feel like there's a lot to explain. But there's some good stuff. DC put out some good stuff this week. I really enjoyed some of it. There were some great indie ones, too. Space Bandits was one that I really wanted to check out because I saw Mark Millar posting about it last week. So that I was looking forward to that. Adam, will you ever try Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? I have watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think I watched the first three seasons, and I liked it. Here's the thing with TV shows, and if you're a veteran of this channel, this is not news to you. You know this. When it comes to the 23 episode seasons, I find it very difficult to keep up with. I like the 9 to 10 episode sort of seasons. That's why it was easier for me to keep up with the Marvel Netflix stuff. That's why I've loved keeping up with the DC Universe stuff. Titans, Doom Patrol, Swamp Thing is so damn good. It's a crime. It's a crime that they canceled it. But I'm very excited to see, potentially what will happen with that series. If it gets picked up by someone else or not, yo no sé. We will see. I don't know. Do you know if the Joker reprints will have any alterations or additions? Which ones? I don't know which ones you're talking about. Context, please. Also, I didn't mention this, but I did mention that we would talk about this a little bit. So the Flash movie got an update. Apparently, Andy Muschietti, who is the director of It Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Mama, he is now in talks to helm the Flash movie. I love It Chapter 1. I am going to assume I will love It Chapter 2. And Warner Brothers has no reason to not have faith in this director to be able to do this movie because of the success of his previous films. I think the frustrating thing for me as a Flash fan... Híjole, what are you doing? I think the frustrating thing for me as a Flash fan is, I thought season 1 of that show was great. And after that, it's kind of been hit and miss for me. I'm not fully caught up just because I've kind of fallen off the bandwagon on it because I don't love it as much anymore. But I think Andy Muschietti is a director, and I think out of all the directors who have been previously attached, he's the one I kind of feel the most confident about. John Francis Daley and Jonathan Goldstein. I know they had done a movie. I forget what the movie was. They did another... Game Night? I think Game Night was the movie that they did previously. But the only movie I saw that they had directed together before that was Vacation. I thought that movie was horrendous. It was so bad. So bad. And I love the Vacation movies. Christmas Vacation is probably one of my go-tos every single year, even when it's not holiday season. I just think that movie's so funny. So yeah, that was very disappointing. And, Rick Famuyiwa, I thought he was a great choice as well. Dope was really good. But I also don't think that director really... I don't think he had done anything so successful that the studio really looked at him and thought like, oh, this could be really, really good. This could be great. I think with Andy Muschietti, because he had Mama, which was very successful and great and well received, and now It was such a blockbuster movie, I think it makes sense for them to move forward with him as the director. Christina Hodson, she's been crushing it over at DC as the writer, or Warner Brothers as the writer. Bumblebee was great. I really liked Bumblebee. To me, it's probably honestly my favorite, right alongside the first Transformers movie. Just has so much heart, so much charm. I really like that movie. Birds of Prey, I'm hoping is going to be really, really good. And if that's the case, if they have confidence in her as a writer to do Birds of Prey, then I think that says a lot about their confidence in her writing a Flash story. So I'm looking forward to it. We've had so many damn directors jumping in and out of this movie. Who knows if it'll even happen. I think Ezra Miller is still on board to star as the Flash. It's a very interesting universe because, Affleck is out as Batman. Cavill, we don't really have a confirmation whether he's in or out. Seems like Ezra Miller's still in. He's still on board. Momoa's in. Gal Gadot is in. Select members of the Suicide Squad are still in there, obviously, because we're getting Birds of Prey. I don't know, man. This could be a great movie. This could be a setup for something really cool. in the DC universe, the Speed Force, the multiverse, all that sort of stuff. But we'll see if it actually comes to fruition. We shall see. I really love the Flash as a character. I think he's got an interesting story. There's a lot of potential with what he can bring to the DC universe. But if they're not building an interconnected universe, I don't really know. I don't really know what the benefit's going to be of having that character. Hey, Adam, you signing up for the It Chapter 2 autograph signing? No, I don't really do the autograph signing stuff anymore. I used to do it when I was younger at San Diego Comic-Con. It just becomes such a long thing, a long process, and the lines are so kind of ridiculous and crazy, and I don't know. I'm kind of too old and past that point, to be honest with you guys. I'm concerned with why no director can stay on Flash, plus I want a new actor for Flash. I mean, I think it really comes down to, you know, what the directors want to make, and if the studio feels like it's in line with what they want to do overall creatively. I think, you know, Matt Reeves, he really had to push DC's buttons. I mean, he literally quit the movie. He quit the movie and then signed on once they agreed to his terms. So I don't know. It's all tossed up. It's all up in the air. We'll see. Would I like to see a Flash movie? Absolutely. We've never had one. I think I think all the solo movies should have came before Justice League, but that's a whole bag of worms that I don't want to get into. But I'm sure any people who think I'm wrong and dumb and idiotic and a moron are not watching me live, unless, I don't know. I don't know why they would be. Okay, let's get into some comics. So, I started reading Test number 1. I did not get very far into this book, but there was some cool stuff in here. I'm just show you a couple pages. So the artwork is pretty great. I'm not far enough to really have a full understanding and a full grasp to the context of the story, but I thought the artwork is really cool. It's got this sort of like Mad Maxy sort of like vibe to it. So I don't know. If I get a chance to finish it and reading it, I will let you guys know. You know, so far I've not got a chance to read it in its entirety, and I definitely want to be able to like read it in its entirety. The only change I would make to the Bumblebee movie is her friend's name. Reveal in the end, his name is Zach Taylor, current version of Future Black Ranger, instead of Power Rangers for a crossover. Yo, that would be dope, but, you know, I don't think that's the world that we live in. Okay, let me see here. Let me go back to the reader. Okay, so I didn't get a chance to read Thumbs number 2. I think Zach read number 1 the last time it came out. But I definitely did read Superman in the Sky, number 1 from Tom King. Tom King is just on a DC roll right now. He has kind of become this, like, I don't know. Kind of feels like he's just kind of become this, like, go-to for DC. He's written some great stuff, you know. So I was really looking forward to this. I'm always excited to check out a new writer's take on Superman. And I thought the artwork was really great as well. So the basic premise of this first issue is there's a crime that happens in Gotham City. A family is, not all, but a lot of the family is murdered, and they have some kids, some orphan kids that they were living with them. One of them survives, and one of them is kidnapped. So Batman basically recruits Superman and says, like, hey, this is the situation. We've got one girl who's a survivor. You should go visit her in the hospital and talk to her because she might be able to give you some information as to what's been going on and what's happening and how you can find this girl. And I honestly just really love the panel work that's done here. You know, you look at this artwork, and this is Andy Kubert who does the artwork, and I think it looks so good, and it's such a powerful representation of Batman and Superman. And I love just seeing them atop a building in Gotham City, just looking down over the city, and just seeing these characters have a real heart-to-heart conversation about the situation. Like, I love this artwork. I would love to see more of this style and these sort of conversations between these characters happening cinematically in a movie. And we haven't gotten that. I don't know if we'll get that. My hope is that we will someday. But the thing that I really took away from this book is that this is really someone writing Superman who loves Superman and touches on the fact that Superman cannot save everybody. As much as he wants to, he can't save everybody at the same time. And to me, that's one of the biggest dilemmas that Superman goes through that I think a lot of people don't realize. And when I hear people say that they think Superman is dumb and that they don't get Superman, it frustrates me a little bit. because I think they're only looking at Superman's powers and his abilities and not looking at sort of what vulnerabilities come with those abilities. You know, he has the power to save anybody in the world, but he can't. He literally physically cannot. Despite how fast he is and all that sort of stuff, he still can't save two people at the same time. And I think when you're considered a god and considered to be one of the strongest characters in this universe, I think that's a huge dilemma. I think that's a huge dilemma for a character like that. And I think psychologically, that does something to you. And that's the Superman that I like to explore. And I think, you know, writers like Tom King understand that. And that's something that they really want to infuse in the books. And I think that's how you sort of get an understanding and a grasp on who Superman is and who Clark Kent is, really. Because to me, I've always sort of felt like, you know, I think in the movies, it's been done multiple ways. We've had Clark Kent be the disguise and Superman be the disguise. I feel like ultimately, to me, you know, and I think it also depends on the comic book writer, but for me, the disguise has always sort of been Clark Kent. Clark Kent is the guy who has to sort of be meek and, you know, has to sort of stay hidden and has to be inconspicuous and has to kind of go through life without anyone suspecting that he has these super abilities. Whereas for me, Clark Kent on the farm, when he's not in Metropolis, he's not in the Daily Planet, when he's on the Kent farm, you know, when he's in Smallville, when he's just Kal-El in the Fortress of Solitude, talking to his father, seeking guidance, and he's Superman, that's when I feel like the real character comes out. And that's when I feel like you sort of get the most sort of idea about the vulnerability of that character. I agree, Megaloblazemon. I do think there need to be more blimps in Gotham City when it comes to the live-action movies. More blimps. That's become sort of a staple in the Batman universe. And I think Batman the Animated Series embraced that in spades. It was really just blimps all over the place. I don't know why. I don't know what era or what comic books sort of set that trend. But, you know, it's cool. I like it. I'm all about it. And I think that's what separates Metropolis from Gotham City. Metropolis has always been bright and colorful and hopeful, whereas Gotham City's always been sort of like dreary and dark and foggy and kind of grungy. And that's what I think is really great about those two cities and how they sort of stand apart from each other. Have I seen the trailer for Teen Titans Go versus Teen Titans? Asked Red Ranger 29. Did I watch it? Pretty sure I watched the trailer, yeah. Or I watched a clip of it at least. I'm excited to see that. A little bummed it's not coming out in theaters, but I get it. Especially after how Teen Titans Go to the movies did. I would understand why they wouldn't put that out theatrically. But that's definitely something I'm going to pick up on Blu-ray and check out. And we'll probably review it here because, you know, I'm excited to see it. Also, I think I complained enough online about the Shazam Blu-ray not having a director's commentary that somebody at Warner Brothers heard me, and they sent me a digital copy of Shazam, and so I've been watching it with the director's commentary, and I liked it. I haven't finished it, but from everything that David Sandberg has talked about so far, very interesting to see how these movies get made. And to me, film commentaries are such an education. So if you're interested in the commentary, unfortunately, it's only available on the digital copy. If you've already embraced digital and you're not a physical media person, then you're already good to go. You'll be good and you'll be set. So look forward to that. I'll definitely be doing a review of the Blu-ray, talking about the commentary and what sort of little nuggets David Sandberg revealed. There's quite a few. They did a lot of reshoots on that movie, and he kind of talks about how people have always kind of poo-pooed on the idea of reshoots and additional photography, but it's not always the case that it means that something bad is going on, which, you know, I think that's a really important thing to talk about. Let's see here. Just an update for people. Guys, we are not talking spoilers in about Spider-Man Far From Home. Please do not post spoilers. Please do not post spoilers. Please. Let everybody experience it first. We will talk about spoilers at a later date. Please and thank you very much. But let's get back to Up in the Sky. So, story. Batman tells Superman something's happened. Family's been murdered. One is alive in the hospital. Another one has been kidnapped. Don't know where she's gone. And so Clark goes to Perry White and says, look, there's this case in Gotham. I want to investigate it. Please let me investigate it. To which Perry responds, hell no, we won't go. He basically just like loses it and tells Clark, hey man, you work for Metropolis Daily Planet, not the Gotham City Globe. You're our reporter. You know, let Gotham report on Gotham. You know, stuck there, buddy? Regardless of that, though, you know, We get a cool montages of Superman fighting all these other characters, and he teams up with Green Lantern, and basically asks Green Lantern and the Green Lantern Corps to trace what they call Zeta beams. And I don't really have the full context of this story and what's been going on in the other books to understand what the Zeta beams are. So I would need to do a little more research as to what that is, how it ties into the DC universe, what it means for these characters. But basically, Superman asked Green Lantern and the Green Lantern Corps, and he could trace the origin of these beams. And Green Lantern basically tells him, like, well, if you want, you can go to this planet, Ran, and the Ranians will basically be able to tell you and find out and use their very advanced mathematical calculations to find out where the origin is and where this person came from or where they went. So it's a really good book. There's a lot of montage-y stuff where Superman is obviously fighting a lot of villains and sort of talking about, you know, the importance of finding the girl and what it means and what his place is in the world and what he represents. What's happening? Oh, keep talking. All right. But there's just some really cool artwork of Superman fighting all these villains that I really enjoy and that I really like. So finally, Superman that goes to Ran, he puts on this device. He starts having all these crazy visions and seeing all these crazy things happening and going on. And what I like about it is there's really an exploration happening internally with Superman and him sort of finding out, you know, what his place is and what he should do, what he shouldn't do. There's some other stuff like you're seeing here that happens that I don't necessarily want to like fully spoil. There's some really good banter between him and Lois Lane about his mission, what he needs to do. And he witnesses something in this vision that is kind of crazy and traumatic. And yeah, Zeta beams are a Rand Adam Strange thing. So there you go, Langley and Neely with the context. So yeah, so he basically goes and sees all these visions and all that stuff. And he's able to sort of pinpoint and get an understanding as to like what's going on. And I don't really want to spoil the full context of a lot of this stuff. Also, one thing that I will point out that I think is great, throughout all the history of DC Comics, I don't know when this started, but the fact that Lois Lane is a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist and she is terrible at spelling is so relatable. It's like, I think there's so many people out there who are such great writers, but man, we can't spell for dog shit. And I think Lois Lane is ultimately like the perfect example of somebody who is really good at just like typing and just going. And even though she tries to edit on the fly, ultimately it doesn't matter because she's got a bunch of spelling errors. And I love that. That's something that's like been passed on from book to book, but it doesn't hinder her, you know, her ability to be as amazing as she is as a character. So in this vision, he sees this young boy jump off a roof, and this young boy is sort of imitating Superman, the cape and the full 9 yards, and Lois gets this call. They're like, oh, something's happened. This boy jumped off this roof, and you know, you get sort of a more inside look as to how Superman sort of deals with these sort of things and how it affects him personally. And him here, you know, telling Wonder Woman, you know, I want to quit. If something like this happens again, I don't want to be responsible. To which Diana basically tells him, like, well, you're one of the greatest heroes in the world. People look up to you. Of course, this is going to constantly happen. This is going to be an ongoing thing for you, you know. And he has a conversation with Jor-El about all that stuff. So there's a lot of like, you know, this issue 1 doesn't re-explore his origin or anything like that, but it does a really good job of sort of trying to establish what it means to be Superman and the dilemma that Superman can go through when it comes to being a hero and being so powerful and being looked at as a god and all this. And there's just these beautiful moments from panel to panel within this whole sequence of stuff. And I think it really gives you an insightful look as to who the character is and what he represents. So yeah, I thought this was just like a really strong debut. And, you know, here he, you know, spoilers, he kind of finds out and figures out where he needs to go to find this girl. And it's to be continued. So I thought it was great. I really think Tom King, he feels like someone who really understands not only the character, but he is a fan of the character. And that's what I love. There's nothing more frustrating when a writer comes in, he tries to tell a Superman story, and you're kind of reading, you're like, good Lord, what is this? What is this shenanigans? That's how I sort of felt about Superman Year One. I didn't really feel the love in that. There are some great moments, but there are also some questionable moments that I was like, this is not Superman. And I think there is an opportunity to take liberties with some of the choices that the character makes in the books, but ultimately, at the end of the day, I think Superman needs to be Superman. You know, I think cinematically there is some room to play with, but I think because Superman is such an icon and he's so well known around the world, and the basic idea of what Superman is and what he represents is so well known, you can't really mess with that too much. So, just my opinion. I know there's a lot of people who would disagree with that, but you know, it is what it is. Does it give Superman new context? I think, you know, like I was saying before, I think if you don't read a lot of Superman books, I think it helps give you sort of an inside look as to who he is and how he, not only how he views himself, but how the world views him as a hero. And the books, the stuff that I read this week has also hinted that Lois Lane was caught kissing Superman. And as we know, in these books, they're married and they have a kid. And we'll talk about in the Lois Lane book, but the world has a very interesting view of Lois Lane now because of that. You know, because now people are like, oh, she cheated on Clark Kent with Superman. And that adds a whole nother layer to Clark, to Lois, to their relationship. It makes it very interesting, and I'm curious to see how that all sort of plays out. To be honest, I feel that way about King's Batman. Not a fan, but he's a great writer. I've heard that from some people. I've heard that from people who say that they like Tom King as a writer, but that Batman hasn't really been a good swing on Batman. But, you know, I haven't read it all, so I can't really speak on it. Next thing I read was Star Wars Target Vader. This is another number one, and this was fun because it's just a whole new lore of characters that I don't know. You know, I don't really keep up with a lot of the Star Wars books and the comics. Sue me. Sorry. I guess I'm not a real fan. I guess. I don't know. Apparently according to the world, you're not a big enough fan unless you read and digest everything that exists in all these universes. But this is basically setting up a mission. So initially it sets up that Darth Vader is going out and he's hunting bounty hunters. And these bounty hunters seem to be potentially stealing loot, and they're trying to evade Vader and all this sort of stuff. As we get further out into the book, there are a group of bounty hunters that are essentially put together to try and kill and assassinate Darth Vader. Clearly, this is a book that must take place sometime between the events of Episode 3 and 4, as the Empire is sort of establishing and Darth Vader is establishing, and he's slowly rising to the rank of being as intimidating of a figure as he becomes. But what I like about it does a lot of great, just like with the last Vader book, it does a really great job of establishing and continuing to establish the relationship between Darth Vader and the Emperor. And to me, if you're going to do a comic book run on Darth Vader, regardless of what the actual overall story is, I think it's really important to have the relationship between Vader and the Emperor fleshed out. So when you go to the movies, I think it sort of gives you a lot more context. And in this particular comic book, they're setting up a secret organization called the Hidden Hand, and Darth Vader is trying to destroy them. At the same time, these bounty hunters are gathering together and being put on a mission to kill Darth Vader. And this informant finds out that Vader is essentially trying to find the Hidden Hand and destroy them. So we go to Coruscant. We go to this cool, I don't know, it's supposed to be some kind of like cool bar. This is essentially another cantina scene. And this bounty hunter meets another bounty hunter. And they just basically have this meeting. And to me, this bounty hunter is like a cross between the Terminator and Han Solo. At least that's what he looks like. His name is Baylor Vance. And he's stolen bounties from a bunch of other bounty hunters. So he's just not in a good place. He's got bounty hunters from all over the universe trying to find him and destroy him. You find out that he's actually lured all these bounty hunters in here so he can take them all out. And, very interesting premise. And then he's followed by this informant for the Hidden Hand. And basically like, hey, I'm putting this team together. He's the Nick Fury of this assassin team. He's putting together the Avengers to try to go, destroy Darth Vader. And it basically ends, with this team assembling, and now it's like, great, the mission is Darth Vader, let's go get him, and then it sort of ends. So it just basically is just a big setup, and I liked it. I dug it. I thought it was fun. It's cool to be introduced to new characters in the Star Wars universe. You know, I'm interested to see when it comes to Star Wars. I'm always interested to see how these brand new comic book characters play a bigger role, whether it's in books, will they show up in any animated shows, you know, if they do any more, not prequel era, but bridging the gap of the prequel era and the OT, you know, what that's going to mean for some of these characters. You know, this Terminator dude, what's going to happen to him? There's a lot of fun stuff here. So I think it just does a lot of groundwork to set up who the other assassins are in all these like very simple panels. Sets up this robot, this one-time Jedi hunter named R919, and how this guy basically does not trust him at all. And of course, they have a cameo by one of the OG bounty hunters from the original, Dengar, from the OT, which is cool. I like seeing other characters from the OT kind of pop in and play bigger roles and all that stuff. And you know, so we'll see. We'll see. This is one of 6, and this is really nothing more than a big setup. So we shall see. We shall see. But I liked it. I liked it. Vader finds out that we basically find out that Vader knows that he's going to get assassins. So now it's like, great. How do we, what's Vader's play, basically? What's he going to do next? How's he going to stop all this? Vader down was great. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, see, you know, not everybody reads all the Star Wars comics. Like, look, it's totally fine. It's all good. Don't feel obligated to read everything just because the internet tells you you should. You don't got to do everything the internet says. Water. Do you think the cinematic or streaming Star Wars will dive into the expanded universe? Well, I think there will be opportunities. I mean, they've already done it. In Star Wars Rebels, they take Admiral Thrawn and they repurpose him from a sequel trilogy book villain to the main bad guy in season 3. I think it's season 3, right? I think it's season 3. And then his story concludes in season 4. Or does it? That's the fun thing about a show like Star Wars Rebels, is you have the opportunity to play with these expanded universe ideas and bring them into the new Star Wars canon, reestablish them, and make it work for the greater universe what it is today. And, you know, a lot of people had a lot of opinions about the brand new Star Wars universe when it was established. Look, man, Disney's going to do what they're going to do so they have more control over the stories that have been told. Because imagine if they would have kept the expanded universe as is, and they would have not done, you know, the Thrawn trilogy is the sequel trilogy. People would have been up in arms about it. And they were already up in arms about, you know, Disney just not adapting those movies. So, oof. Do what you got to do. You know what I mean? Just do what you got to do. Finn, Star Wars Age of Resistance, Finn issue 1. This was a fun, just a little, I don't want to say throwaway story. I think that's sort of like rude and disrespectful to the writers. But I think this is just more of an attempt to give us a little bit more backstory and a little more context to Finn and who he was before he joined the Resistance. You know, he was a boy of maintenance. He did maintenance work on Starkiller Base, which is exactly what he says in the movie in Star Wars: The Force Awakens. So they follow through with that here, and this is basically just like a slice of life comic book issue from, you know, Age of Rebellion. So it's fun. Like, I think it's really fun. It just gives a little bit of context as to like who Finn is, what kind of a character he is, how he always is kind of like this like goofball dude, and when he encounters Captain Phasma and Kylo Ren, he's just a goofy dude. I don't know. There's really not much to it. I think the purpose of these things is to just tell these really kind of like fun, fresh, one-off stories of these characters, and especially these new characters. I think for a character like Finn, it's really fun to just kind of go through and see what these characters were up to before the events of the movies, and, you know, not feeling obligated to have to tell some like expanded Star Wars TV show about the story of Finn, FN 2187, and what he was doing prior to the events of Episode 7. I don't need any of that, but it's cool to have the comic books do that for you. You know, he ends up going on this mission with these other stormtroopers, and they have to basically go down into like the dark trenches. I think it's supposed to be Starkiller Base, and somewhere within the cave of Starkiller, in one of these caves of Starkiller Base, and they come across these like alien flying beings. I don't know what they're supposed to be exactly, but it's cool. All these stormtroopers go in there. They try to take out all these like creatures. One of them gets taken out. Langley, yes. Justin Ponsor did pass away. Yeah, so in every Marvel issue, actually I think in most of the comic books that have been out, or maybe it's just the Marvel ones, they did this really nice tribute to him. But yeah, it's more world building, and it's just a little bit more exploration with the Star Wars characters and what they're up to. And essentially at the end of this book, this is not a spoiler. I'm not giving anything away by telling you this, but at the end of the book, Finn basically is charged with transporting all the garbage from Starkiller Base to another planet. He runs into a female character who is basically in charge of the garbage maintenance work for the Resistance. Or I don't even know if it's just for the First Order. I think it's just for whoever. I don't know. Does Phasma always walk around with that gun? Yeah, seems like it. Seems like she always just walks around with the gun. So he basically goes through the whole thing, and he discovers that there's like this whole world, that this cave has actually been a home to all these alien flying beasts. So he sets up a way to be able to transport these things out of there. And it's a nice character moment for Finn, because I think you just find out a little bit more. It just sort of like solidifies what we've already got to know from Finn in episodes 7 and 8. And it kind of just double downs on that. And here he is with this garbage. He's basically a garbage escort. And he goes on this mission with this character, and it's like a 3-week mission. He doesn't want to do it. But, she suspects him of just... She suspects that he's out there for another mission, and his intentions might be a little askew. But when she finds out that he really is just trying to free this alien flying, bunch of beasts, she's like, "Oh, okay, you're a cool guy." And I think she discovers something new about him. We get to discover something new about Finn, and it's all good. So I think that's really all these Age of Resistance books are when it comes to the new characters. I think it's just all about giving us more context as to who these characters are. I'm kind of expecting the same thing from General Hux and Poe Dameron. Just a little more insight into who these characters are and what they represent. And, they're fun. They're fun little books. They're fun little reads. They're really quick. It's not a whole lot of crazy story stuff for some of them, obviously. I think the Vader one is going to be its own special case. But let's talk about this book. I really enjoyed this. Space Bandits, issue 1, Mark Millar. I love the style. I thought the look of this book was really, really cool. I loved the art. Here, let me get out of this guided view. I think the setup of this is great. It's basically like old 80s and 90s in space. This really fun sci-fi. It kind of has a Fifth Element-ish vibe to it. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that it sort of embraces that the Fifth Element has this swagger about it, this style, this design, this look. And it seems like Space Bandits is sort of trying to embrace that, especially when you have a ship called the Lionel Richie, and it has this giant basically head on the front of it that is supposed to just be Lionel Richie. It doesn't really look like him, but whatever. This is basically Space Cruiser, and you meet this character, and you see that she's surrounded by all these people. This lovely couple is on the opposite side of the couch from her. They're celebrating their 600th anniversary. So we're obviously in an alien world in the distant future. But basically the premise is that this young woman tricks all these people. She's a space bandit. So the whole setup is that she gasses all these people. All these people pass out, and all these other space bandits come to join her. They basically loot this entire ship of people. And the artwork is great. The banter is great. And sadly, this character, some shit goes down between this character. She's essentially betrayed by these space bandits. And it's a 2-part story basically in one. So you meet this one character, you see what happens with her, and then you meet the second character who is an outlaw. And there's a really fun play between her and this guy who captures her. He goes to collect her bounty, There's some really, really fun banter between her and these cops, and she's kind of a celebrity, and they want to take pictures from her, or pictures with her. And they play some tricks. They play some tricks in some of these characters, and you sort of get to see how both of these characters, the female character in the first part and in the second part, what sort of characters they are, how they are betrayed, potentially betrayed, what happens to them, and how their stories intersect. And it's kind of heartbreaking for this second character in particular, because there's a lot of sort of build-up in the relationship with her and the people that she's surrounded herself with. There's a giant lobster station, which I think is so damn fun. This thing just has like a lot of fun. Like Mark Millar seems to just have a lot of fun doing weird, wacky, kooky shit. There's just a giant lobster out in space. That's essentially just like they've been mining this lobster that is now dead floating through space, but they've been able to find it's like cured a bunch of diseases. It's really, really cool. Really fun, and I think it establishes a really fun universe. And then you see how the stories of these two characters intersect, and it's obviously a cliffhanger. But I really liked it. I thought it was really, really cool. It was really fun. Again, it's got this very Fifth Element vibe to it, and that's what really stuck out to me. As someone who like loves the Fifth Element, if you really like that movie, I think this will play fun to you. And it's kind of, at first when I read it, and to see what happens to the female characters, it's super frustrating. But I think what it's trying to do, it's trying to just establish how horrible not only bandits can be, but how horrible men can be when it comes to the treatment of women. And I don't think it's like really trying to beat you over the head with that. It's just saying like, that's what it is, and that's people taking advantage of the situation. And I think it did it in a very interesting way. But I would love to see what you guys think about it. You know, I obviously have like a certain perspective about it because I'm a guy, and that's sort of like what I took away from it. But I would love to see what people who are very enriched in comic book lore or know Mark Millar very, very well, or if you're a female reader, you know, what you think about the portrayal of this story and how it treats the female characters, how it shows men treating the female characters, and if you think that the way it sets this up, if it also ultimately will propel these female characters into a fun story together individually, and how they sort of like take back the story and what happens and all that sort of, I'm trying to like not give away too much of the setup in this first book, but I thought it was really great. I had a lot of fun reading it, and to me it was just like a really quick and good page turner, and that's sort of what I look for in books. I look for stuff that really sort of intrigues me and allows me to sort of just like jump into the world, and it sets it up really fast, really quick, and I'm able to just sort of like really quickly understand it, and this did a really good job, and the artwork is great, and I thought it was a really fun read. So check it out. Let me know what you guys think. I would really like to know what you guys think, what your overall thoughts are on Mark Millar. I'm not really hugely educated on a lot of his work, aside from a few things that he's done for DC. So I don't know. I think I would need to do a further sort of exploration of his work to see where this kind of lies within the greater context of all the other stuff that he's been doing. I'm gonna have to check this book out. Yeah, check it out. I know, Langley, you're really up to date comic book reader. You seem to read a lot of stuff. I would love to know what you think about this and the artwork and all that sort of stuff. So as everybody knows, I like to listen to soundtracks when I read these comics. I didn't really this week. This is the first week where I've really just sort of just tried to like read stuff. I was listening to some stuff earlier, and I mostly just put on like a loop track, but I think if I were to reread this or recommend it, I would put on the Fifth Element soundtrack. I think that would probably be sort of the best. And like, look, the cover art itself already kind of pulled me in. I thought the cover art was so damn good. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Browse pages. There it is. This, like, again, the cover art itself is very futuristic, very fun, has a very, like, I don't know, it just had a very Fifth Element feel to me. So, yeah, I thought it was really, really good. I dug it a lot. All right, up next, what do we got? Let's see. Sea of Stars was interesting. Sea of Stars was, this is a part 1. And I'm not too I don't know this writer, Stephen Green, but this is another one of those like very interesting like Johnny Quest in space. Jason Aaron is one of the writers. Stephen Green is the artist. It's an Image comic book. This kind of felt like Johnny Quest in space to me. There's this young boy and his dad. They were on this long sort of adventure. This young boy, I think he's about 8. He really could not give a shit about being in space. This kid wishes he could have been at home. And they encounter some crazy alien beings and are basically attacked. And this young kid ends up... Oh, Jesus, you scared the hell out of me. I was like, why is Zach touching me in such a weird way?
How are you?
I'm good. Just partying. Guys, stay tuned. Bat Queens is coming up. 7 p.m. Same bat time, same bat channel on Twitch. Are you excited?
I'm super excited. We got
Oh, we do? Who?
It's Mika.
Mika's going to be here. Mika's going to be here hanging out with the Rat Queens. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Also, this is going to be really good.
Is it? It
No.
will be. It will be. Come on. Be a little more positive. Meh. Poor Adam having someone sneak up on him while streaming. Something Adam himself would never do. Listen, here's the thing. When I sneak up on people, I'm sneaky as shit about it. Brandon was streaming yesterday, and I don't think he even noticed that I snuck up behind him. I mean, I wasn't trying to scare him. I just snuck up behind him, and I was like, hey, bud. And he had no clue. But, yeah, so this kind of played out a little bit like a Johnny Quest in space. I thought it was really fun. Another, like, really fun story. Again, a lot of these are number ones, so it's sort of just establishing the world. And Jason Aaron did a really good job writing really good banter between the father and the son, establishing, the reasoning, why the kid is on the mission with the dad, the family dynamic, all that sort of stuff, and how he's got these like relics in his ship, and then coming face to face with what the dad thinks is another ship. It is in fact not. It is a giant. I don't know what the hell this giant beast is. But they basically get attacked, for better or for worse. And just when you think the kid is about to be taken out, he grabs a weapon. And this weapon gives him the ability to talk with these alien creatures. So, I don't know. I'm very curious to see where this ends, how this ends up playing out, what the kid ends up doing, what kind of like adventure he goes on with these crazy looking aliens, how his dad is going to find him. I don't know, man. It seems really, really fun. I liked it a lot. It establishes and it just builds like a really fun introduction. Kind of the same thing with Mark Millar did with the last book. When a number one does a really good job of just establishing the universe and the world and the characters, and it just kind of hooks you, you're just kind of in. And the artwork is really, really cool. And I think that's the big thing with a lot of the books that came out this week. There is just some really fun artwork. And it's very colorful. And, while the last one was very Fifth Element-y, this really plays like a Johnny Quest in space thing. And I think it's really great. And, these two aliens are sort of having this back and forth, and then they realize that this kid can understand them. And, it ends up on a cliffhanger again. There's really not much. I don't feel like I'm really spoiling anything by showing you all this because you're not really reading along. But it's cool to see, this like Lost in Space / Johnny Quest story of this father and son. And hoping that, like, will these two be reunited? You don't know, say. We'll see. Sounds like Space Bandits should be soundtracked by Sophie. I don't know who that is, but you should tweet it at me. And if I should read Space Bandits with Sophie, if it's a band, if it's a singer, what it is, let me know, and I'll happily reread it. Because I think the next issue is coming out on August 7th, so I got some time. I've got some time to, potentially reread this book beforehand. So... okay, let's jump into the next one. Hope you guys are having fun, by the way. Look, I would truthfully like to know, because of Comics and Coffee, and because of how much more Zach and I have been talking about comics, have you guys been reading more? The same? Less? I don't know. I'm curious, because I feel like we don't get an opportunity to talk about comics on Hyper too much, and I think that was the reason why Zach really wanted to do Comics and Coffee in the first place. He's such an avid comic book reader, and I think the opportunity to be able to read more comics in general and then being able to share that stuff with you guys really fun. And for me, it's just been a really cool reason to jump back into comics. And because I've kind of been off the comic book train for a while, I have not been reading. I had not read a lot of stuff, especially single issues. I would kind of, I would pick and choose things, mostly DC stuff. But because of this, I've been reading a lot of indie stuff, and there's been a lot of great things that we've been reading. And I want to continue reading a lot of it. Dave Pistol says, yeah, I picked up some new things and starting making some progress on the many things I picked up, but not got around to reading. Look, comic books are one, they're an investment. Two, they are a time suck. There's a lot to read. As we know from War of the Realms, there was so many crossover stuff. That's the stuff that I tend to sometimes stay away from. It intimidates me, especially when it's Marvel, because I don't know the Marvel universe as well as the DC universe. So I tend to sort of stay within the DC realm. Like a lot of the stuff is crossing into the DC stuff, at least, is crossing into Event Leviathan. And I feel like because I'm sort of at the beginning stages and I'm being able to read some of the stuff that happens beforehand, it's giving me the advantage that I can stay up to date and stay up, stay with the story and have an understanding of what's happening in the story. Whereas War of the Realms, holy shit, I was lost. I didn't really know what was happening. Agents of Atlas was fun, but because there were so many spin-off books, and Agents of Atlas, I think, was coming out every week or every 2 weeks, it just all happened so quickly. I don't know. I was sort of intimidated by keeping up with all this stuff. Let's see. Langley says, same. I enjoy hearing from about other readers out there. See, that's the thing with me. So if a lot of you have social media, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. The whole reason why I think it's so fun to live stream this show and to have all of you come in here and watch live, or even if you're watching the replay, you guys can watch the live chat and you can find out what are the people in the Thumper community who have social media, you can kind of talk with about comics. I think a lot of people sort of depend on us and Hector and a few other people to talk about comics, but look, the whole purpose of us doing a lot of these live streams and doing stuff about comics and everything in general is for you guys to really start building a community within the Thumper group and to start talking about comics on your own. Honestly, you know what would be fun? Maybe I need to get permission to do this, or maybe I should just tell you to do it and fuck it. Maybe you guys should create like a Facebook group. Maybe a Facebook group or something, or maybe we need to make a Discord channel. I mean, I know we have a comic book Discord channel. I don't know if everybody is on there. Yeah, I don't know. I would like to see more engagement, whether it's on the comics Discord channel, or maybe making a Facebook group or something. Talking more about comics, because I want to know what other people are reading. I know, we talk about the comic books that we read, but I also want to know what stuff you guys are discovering. There's a lot of stuff that we don't get to, mostly because you just don't have the time, really. Like, there's a James Bond comic book series that's happening right now. I think Zorro also has a comic book series. Yo, I love Zorro. I'll read some Zorro comics. If Zach puts them on the iPad, I will read them and I will let you know what I think. So what else we got here? I didn't get a chance to read Savage Avengers. I didn't get a chance to read Postal Deliverance #1 or Project Superpowers Volume 2. No One Left to Fight. I didn't get a chance to read this either, but just based on the cover, it seemed like a really fun and colorful, fun story. I want to read this. It just looks dope. Like, the artwork itself. I'm all about this sort of style of just fully embracing the color palette and just going all out. It looks fun. No idea what the story's about, but I definitely want to get into it and see what it's about. I've been reading the entire Jason Aaron Thor run, and I just bought Venom and Vision. I need to read that. Zach will not leave me alone until I read that Jason Aaron run of Thor. I will get to it. I think I just need to buy it. I should probably just go to Amazon and just order the damn thing. Yeah, I think I just need to bite the bullet and do it. Lois Lane #1. This is great. I love the fact that Lois Lane got her own book in this. I don't know why it jumped all the way to the middle. Hello, shower scene. They got that bread. I dug this. So this explores a little bit more of Lois Lane and how the world views her. or maybe not the world, maybe just Metropolis. She was caught kissing Superman. And Lois and Clark are married in the comic books. Though the world doesn't know that Clark and Superman are the same person, therefore you find the issue. Therein lies the issue. You literally have a character, this like random dude on the street, while Lois and Clark are having a nice stroll through Metropolis, this ding-dong calls Lois Lane a slut. And it's really interesting to see the reaction, the difference of the reaction between Lois and Clark as characters, and how she handles it, how Clark looks at it, and I don't think, as far as I know, that something like this has been explored in the comic books, and it's so insightful and interesting to see how Lois reacts to this versus how Clark reacts to this, and yeah, I think it just adds more depth. And I think that's the thing about comic books now. Writers are doing such a great job of adding so many layers and depth to these characters. And it's so interesting to see the reaction between the two different characters. Because I think, had this situation been written 20 some odd years ago, we know how the situation would have been handled. And it's nice to see how this is handled differently between both characters. And it's interesting. Like, I'm just curious to see how this is going to go moving forward. How this will play out in the Superman books, Lois Lane's books, all that sort of stuff. Context of the story is there's a murder, and Lois is trying to find out. It's kind of a whodunit. At the same time, this whole the whole backplot is this element of Lois kissing Superman. And how the world feels about it, how Lois and Clark feel about it as characters, and he feels Clark feels a little bit of guilt about it, because Lois is sort of taking the majority blame for all this stuff, because she even says like no one's gonna pin it on Superman. Superman is Superman, and it's very unfair. And they both recognize that and they call that out. And Lois, being the character that she is and the person that she is, and this just like dogged gung-ho reporter, she takes it. And I think it says just so much about her as a character. And we all know that's sort of been the strength of Lois Lane in the comic books always. She's someone who doesn't give up. She fights for what is right. She's very much Superman, but without the superpowers. And I think that just says so much about her. And it really shows the strength of that character. So it's great. I love the fact that this character, that she's going to get her own comic book run. No clue how long it's going to last. And there's so much more to the story about her teaming up with a potential other character from the DC universe. And this other character sort of trying to figure out the mystery of the whodunit. It's great. I really liked it. I can't wait to sort of get more of it. Again, a lot of great number ones this week. And it's cool to see a lot of these DC characters sort of being explored. And just the opening of this, she's staying in in this hotel doing all of her work. She's got this maid in here who's tidying up the place and constantly asking, hey, you want me to refill the minibar? You want me to refill the minibar? You want me to refill the minibar? Lois is just like, hey, I'm working. I'm trying to get my work done. There's also some really fun and interesting background commentary that deals with some very relevant news topics. But I'm going to let you guys explore that. I think it's fun stuff. I think it's very interesting stuff. And it just goes to show how much comics are very much trying to be a reflection of modern day. And we've talked about it before, how people complain about politics being comics. Lois Lane is a freaking reporter, people. Of course she's going to be talking about things that are relevant to not only her world, but I think the writers are then going to put in the effort of having political events of the DC or Marvel world reflect what's happening in ours. Is it always exactly a one-to-one? Of course not. But, oh, doggy, they dropped some zingers in here that is very relevant to what's going on in our world. So I really liked it. I thought it was a really good number one, exploring more of Lois Lane, how she is not how she is, but just exploring more of the character that she is, and more context and all that sort of stuff. I didn't get a chance to read Miss Marvel #1. It's an annual. I do want to read it though, because usually with these annuals, it gives you some great context as to who these characters are, and someone who's not really that familiar with Miss Marvel. I think this might be a really good place to just start and get an idea as to who she is and how she interacts with other characters in the Marvel Universe, and potentially where she came from. I don't know how much origin work will be done in this, maybe none, but I think there's potential for just getting a really good understanding as to who she is. So I'm looking forward to reading that. I'll check that out. I'll read it this week, and I'll probably let you guys know next week. I don't know. I think are we doing? Yeah, we should be doing a show next week. Man-Eaters #10. I didn't get a chance to do that. Or Immortal Hulk #20. I tried to stick with as many #1s or close to #1s as I could. I definitely read Doom Patrol #1, Weight of the Worlds. This is a really kooky book. Holy shit. If you thought the show was crazy, my God. And I'm fully aware that Doom Patrol, a lot of the runs of Doom Patrol have been really damn weird and kooky and crazy, but let me just flip through this for you, just to give you a little idea of what I'm talking about. So, a lot of setup. Robot Man has essentially been turned back into a human being. This is the only thing that I think is problematic, or not problem. I shouldn't say problematic, but it's a challenge when there are references being made to other books. There's a lot of this happening where it's like, see Doom Patrol #6. Well, damn it, I guess I got to go back and read all these other damn issues to get the full context as to, like, how did Robot Man not be, how did he go, how did he basically become human again? What happened to Cliff that he became human again? And in this case, it's like, great, see Doom Patrol #11. Great, I don't have the context of what's happening there. Cool. But basically, Cliff is going back, and he wants to go back and visit his mother. And I would say, for me, the highlight of this whole thing, while the Doom Patrol is going into, like, I think they're like in another realm or another universe. I don't really know. Another planet, potentially. There's some really kooky, weird shit happening where they're on another planet and they are dealing with someone who's becoming as a new ruler, and they're basically trying to just get that person out of there, which is all well and good. It's fine. I wasn't that into it personally. Like, it didn't pull me in story-wise. Like, I didn't think it really did enough legwork of getting me to fall in love with the characters. And maybe some of you guys will disagree, and some of you guys loved it. I think it played with the idea of who these characters are. And if you have seen Doom Patrol the series, you get some of that context. Like Crazy Jane, you get to see some of that stuff. But I don't know. Not all of it really worked for me. But the stuff that really did work for me extremely well was Robot Man. And he goes back and he visits his mother. And it's very heartbreaking, honestly. Let me just jump to it. Let's see here. So Robot Man goes back to the nursing home where his mother is. And it's just like a very, I don't know. Imagine you're the son of someone who goes out there and he tries to do something good with the world, good with his new abilities. Not really a superhero, but someone who tries to go out there and do good. And you're teamed up with a band of misfits. And then you go back and you don't see your mother for years. And she basically is just like, yo, you're a freak. You're a freak who hangs out with other freaks. And you're not my son. And I don't love you anymore. And it's just kind of heartbreaking to read it, to see it unfold. And I think the style of the artwork and the comic and the color is very much representative of how dark and like bleak that's supposed to be. And it's just heartbreak, man. It's real heartbreaking. It's just deep. And you feel bad for Cliff. You feel bad because they talk about what happens to his father. And I don't know. It just sort of like, it just hits you. And he just kind of loses it. He loses all control. And is really just distraught by the whole thing. And, some shit goes down. Literally. And kind of leaves you thinking like, great, are we going back? Are we going backwards now? Is Cliff going to become Robot Man again? did he get out of the shit situation he was in? Is now going back into being Robot Man? Like, that sucks, man. That really sucks. This right here is Deep Geek, a comic read-along. So, yeah, for those of you who don't know, Zach and I normally try to do read-alongs. We haven't had a chance to do in the last 2 weeks. Really, mostly because there's been a lot of stuff happening in comics, and there's been a lot of indie books. This week we've had a lot of number ones, and I've enjoyed reading a lot of this stuff, but I do hope that maybe next week we can kind of get into one of these books. Maybe we'll read something from this week. Maybe. I don't know. But I would like to do more read-throughs of comics. I did read Deceased, number 3. I felt like this issue was very kind of like slow and uneventful compared to 1 and 2. So if you're not reading Deceased, let me give you a little bit of context. So first of all, I have really liked overall the first 3 issues of this. I would say that number 3 has sort of been the slowest one. This is 3 of 6. We're halfway through the series now. 1 and 2 sets up some interesting stuff. So basically, Cyborg has a connection to Apocalypse, and this virus gets spread out into the DC universe, and it kind of turns a lot of the DC characters and their supporting characters and the world of characters that are inhabited in this DC universe, it turns them into these like crazy gnarly ass zombie, rabid zombie type of like characters. I don't really know. They haven't really, as far as I don't remember them really clearly defining exactly what the virus does to people, other than fully taking over their bodies, and now they are just nasty characters, nasty, repulsive, zombie-like beings that just hunt. They basically just hunt characters. And a lot of the DC heroes end up being taken over. There's nothing more terrifying than Batman inside of the Batcave trying to control this virus. And he ends up putting on this armor to prevent the takeover of this virus for as long as he can. And some shit goes down, and Alfred has to make some decisions, and you see sort of the repercussions of those decisions in this book. But for me, the book chapter 3 didn't really move. It didn't really do anything enough for me personally to advance the story forward. We see Harley Quinn here. She finally stands up to the Joker and makes her stance and like axes that character out of existence, and then she's confronted by the Birds of Prey. And we don't really know. We don't really know what happens. And we jump back and forth between Damian and Superboy, John Kent. Superman decides that he kind of needs to go on this like mission to find out what's been going on and how he can sort of deal with this traumatic event. And he tries to get everybody to hide in the Daily Planet. So he basically has to get every zombie-like character who's been infected with this like anti-life equation virus out of there. Includes characters like Perry White, and when you meet some of these characters, they look real nasty. And then we jump over to Atlantis, and we haven't really visited Atlantis much, but we meet Mara, and we find out that Aquaman himself has also been infected by this anti-life equation virus. And Mara now needs to, it's basically a battle to survive for her. But I think the thing that didn't really win me over with this book is that it jumps so quickly from scenario to scenario to scenario. I didn't really feel like I got to spend enough time with some of these characters, and it didn't really make me feel like the story had an opportunity to advance enough. It just kind of felt like this could have been an in-between. This kind of felt like it could have been 2.5. And then when we get the next issue, we could have sort of fleshed out more of what's going on. But Superman does end up going to Smallville to save his parents, and holy shit, some stuff goes down that I won't spoil. But damn, I don't know how the hell they're gonna reverse this scenario. I'm very interested to see how they're gonna reverse this situation, because who doggy, it's crazy. You know, he goes to Metropolis, he meets Ma. Ma has quarantined Pa Kent, and Superman has to make some decisions. But I have liked it overall. Like overall, I think the book's been really good. It's cool seeing some of these characters and what's been going on. I don't know how they're going to really tie this up in 6 issues. What's going to happen with Cyborg? We still haven't really gone back to that story. So overall, I've really liked it. I wish the story gave me more in terms of how we've progressed since the previous issue. I don't feel like we really took big steps in this issue, which is kind of a bummer. You know, basically Arrow and Black Canary, who's now Green Lantern, are basically just like looking after people. Not very exciting. So, I don't know. I haven't read DC's because I'm not into zombie stuff. Well, I don't know. It's not necessarily... I would honestly say it's false to call them zombies. For a lack of a better term, that's what I'm calling them. That's what it seems like the anti-life equation is sort of treating them. That's the virus that they've been infected with. So I guess for lack of a better term, zombie is the way to go. But yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see with the characters who have sort of been compromised, how do we fix this? How do we go back? How do we revert these events that have affected a lot of major DC characters? I mean, hot damn. Some of these characters have been killed. And I don't know how we're going to get out of it, but it'll be interesting to see. But I did like it. I thought it was a good read. Overall, I just didn't think it was as strong as some of the other stuff that's come out. So, I don't know. We'll see, though. We'll see. In terms of some of these other books, you know, unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to read some of these other ones. Crowded number 7. I didn't get to Cosmic Ghost Rider. But, come on. Yo, he's got Captain America's shield, and he's got Mjolnir. I don't know how much crazier this shit can get. I just want to, like, flip through this really quick. Artwork's pretty cool. I think the thing that's going to really be the selling point for me is just seeing what the hell Cosmic Ghost Rider is going to be all about. I don't know. Could be fun, but I don't know. What's some of the stuff that you guys are reading? I really want to know what some of the stuff you guys are reading. So if I were to pick my top picks for the week, I think Superman Up in the Sky, again, was a really solid one for me personally. I think Tom King is really trying to show Superman from a different perspective and also just like give the audience a better idea as to like who Superman can be and who he is. Space Bandits to me was a huge win. I really liked it. I really dug how it set up this Fifth Element-y style world and where it's going to take all these characters and what it's going to do with the story. I thought that was a really big win. Sea of Stars, again, being this like Johnny Quest book. Really fun Johnny Quest and space book. I thought that was really great as well. Curious to see where that goes. Target Vader, I don't know. These Star Wars books were interesting. I liked them. I liked the Star Wars books. Wasn't crazy about them. I thought Age of Resistance Finn was fine. Gives a little bit more context and it fleshes out the character a little bit more. I don't know if it's really required reading for me, to be completely honest. I thought Target Vader was good if you're looking for a Star Wars story that's a little bit more espionage, spy, thriller stuff. And sure, I think Target Vader could be really, really fun. Hey, thanks for those likes, guys. Yeah, so I don't know. The Star Wars stuff has been kind of hit and miss with me. You know, I liked the stuff that I read last week. I wasn't crazy about the stuff that was the week before. Age of Resistance Luke was kind of weak for me. I don't know. It is kind of a hit and miss with some stuff. It's tough. It's tough. Because I think Disney and Marvel are really trying to do a lot of stuff with these Star Wars characters, but I think you run the risk of oversaturating the market with too much focus on some of these characters. I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll see, though. Justice League Super Sons and JL Dark. Oh, yeah. So I think Super Sons was in here. Let me look. Was it in here? It was in here. I didn't get a chance to read Super Sons, but I do really want to check this book out. I think it's really cool that we're now like to the point where we're exploring the offspring of some of these superhero characters. Damian Wayne, you know, John Kent as Superboy. I think there's, you know, it's Peter J. Tomasi. I think there's potential. I think it's fun. You know, oh, this is a conclusion, Clinic War. Okay, interesting. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff to really read and sort of dive into and digest, and just I think it just does a good job of building out more of these DC characters, and that's kind of what I'm here for. I'm here for stuff that kind of builds out. I'm interested in this Lex Luthor. Is it really like baby Lex Luthor, or is an adult Lex Luthor turned into a baby? I don't know. So there's a lot of good stuff out there. Let's see what else. I don't know. What's some other stuff that you guys are reading? Or the stuff that you've read? It's the last issue of Super Sons. Okay, so it's not the completion of an arc. It is legitimately the end of this book. Cool. Well, there you go. I mean, with 12 issues, I imagine that can be an easy read. 12 issues is nothing. That's a really, really quick read. I did read something. Let's see, what was it? I read something from last week that I did tell you guys that I was going to read. Where is it? Was it this? I think I read this. Let me swap through really quick. Yeah. This was what I read. So, again, this is another one of those not having the full context of sort of what's been going on in the Superman books. This was good. I wasn't crazy about it. You know, we're introducing, as far as I know, this is not really an introduction, but a really nice one-on-one dialogue between this character Thorn, who has sort of this like split personality. It was okay. You know, I think again, not really being caught up. It ties into Event Leviathan, obviously. I don't know. It's a Bendis book. It's good, but didn't really feel like required reading to me personally. There's a previous run of Super Sons before those 12. Yeah, I mean, I would like to check it out. Super Sons is good. Shame that it's not an ongoing anymore with them as kids. It's super wholesome. Well, that's good. I'm all about DC super wholesome. Call me old-fashioned. I don't give a shit. So, Superman up in the sky. Big win for me. Star Wars Target Vader. Pretty good. Space Bandits. Great. Really liked it. Can't wait to see where it goes. Sea of Stars. Also good. More Johnny Quest. I liked it. I didn't love it. Thought it was a fun read, though. I think there's potential for that as well. Lois Lane was great. I want to know what a lot of people think about the take and sort of her dealing with the fact that she was caught kissing Superman and the universe treating her how it does because, you know, boys will be boys and they're horrible. You could read Saga. That shit is perfection. You know, you're not wrong. There's been a lot of people who have told me I need to read Saga, and it comes up as a recommended read all the time. All the damn time. I will eventually get to it. Let's see. What else did I read? So, Deceased. So, Doom Patrol. Doom Patrol for me is kind of like the odd man out here where I want to recommend it. I feel like you probably need to either watch Doom Patrol for better context to the characters or read some different, not different runs, but other series, like Doom Patrol series that are part of the current run of DC Universe. Because I think it gets really wacky and kooky, and I think if you don't have the full context and you don't know who those characters are, then, man, you may not like it. Yeah, Koi has been all about Saga for the last few weeks. He's been plugging that thing on Collider comic book shopping all the time. All the time. Respect, though. If you love it, why not plug it? You should. Deceased, I think you guys should read issues 1 and 2. I want to know what people think about issue 3 compared to issues 1 and 2, because I thought issues 1 and 2 were very strong. And even though you may not be into the whole, like, zombie superhero thing, I think it's an interesting twist. I think it's an interesting way to treat the anti-life equation. And curious just to see how it plays out. You know, it's only 6 issues because we're already halfway there. We're already halfway there, and I don't know what Superman is going to do. I don't know what Green Lantern is going to do, Black Canary, Green Lantern. I don't know what Arrow is going to do. It's going to be really interesting to see what these characters are going to do, what tricks they're going to pull out of their ass to save the greater DC universe, because if you have to fight Apocalypse, Darkseid, and all of the great DC superheroes as zombies, I don't know, man. I think that's going to be a real challenge. So I don't know. What are some other things you guys are reading, though? I have not read Conan the Barbarian. I've heard this run of Conan is great. I've heard he even interacts with some of the Avengers, which is crazy. Super crazy. I don't know. But yeah, some of the other ones I really want to read is definitely Miss Marvel, this annual. I want to read Postal Deliverance. That looks like a really interesting one. And I will probably end up finishing... Let's see, what was the one I started? Oh, Test number 1. See, yeah, all y'all, you guys love Saga. It's good to know, though. I know Zach talks about it all the time, that it's a great run. It's a really great comic book run. So I'm excited. Also, later tonight, actually, you know what? I think I'm going to do it tomorrow. I haven't decided yet. We will be dropping a new episode of Hyper Heroes. It's on Patreon now. For those of you who are not aware, we do have a Patreon. What's up? Am I not in focus? Just here to mess up your focus game, bud. I have not read the first run of Super Sons, but apparently I should, so I will. But we do have a Patreon. Everything has been going live on Patreon before it's been going live on YouTube, especially Hyper Heroes. We're going to be doing commentary for Men in Black this week. That'll be a whole lot of fun. I have been watching the movie with the commentary, and it's been great. Very interesting to see a movie where the director talks about how they rewrote so much stuff on the day of. For example, the whole opening sequence with Tommy Lee Jones, I guess Barry Sonnenfeld did not know that Tommy Lee Jones spoke Spanish. So he had Tommy Lee Jones basically rewrite that whole opening scene. Then the next scene where we meet Will Smith's character, Agent J, Will Smith also rewrote that. So it's so fascinating to go through scene by scene and to see and to listen to those guys talk about how they thought, oh, this scene, we didn't think it was going to work. Oh, this scene, we thought it was bad. Oh, this scene, it was supposed to be deleted, but then we tested the movie and the audience really loved it, so we kept it in. Fascinating. Fascinating. Talk about how they used digital technology back then to do a lot of the visual effects and to make a lot of characters work. So weird, so strange. I don't even know how that movie got greenlit, to be honest with you. I don't know how that movie was as successful as it was, because holy shit. I think it was a miracle that movie was as good. And then you know what? I don't think lightning struck twice for those guys. I don't think 2 is nearly as good as 1. And I never honestly saw 3. I saw bits and pieces of it, and I thought, from what I saw, it was alright. Wasn't crazy about it. I was reading Stone Star on Comixology Unlimited. Been pretty good. Okay, I'll check it out. Stone Star. Who's the publisher on that? Let me know. Speaking of comics, this is more your NoHo area, but Blast Off Comics will be selling their location to another comic shop, Collector's Paradise, so that the area will still have a local comic shop for the neighborhood. Interesting. I did not know that. I thought they were just shutting the business down for good and it was not going to be a comic book shop, but good to know that something else is coming in its place and we'll have another comic book shop. It's a bummer. I love comic book shops, but I think I've talked about it. You know, I love physical media when it comes to movies. When it comes to music and comics, I'm really not that precious about it. Mostly because comics are the thing that movies are the things that I love, so that's what I collect. And I don't collect every movie. I collect movies that I'm very passionate about and that I love. But, you know, I get it. I get people who really want physical comic books. When it comes to single issues, I definitely don't collect those anymore. I have boxes upon boxes upon boxes of comic books. Oh, no. Oh, no. See what you guys did? Y'all have no chill. Not you. Not you. Not you. Oh, Lord. Okay. Well, dang. Amir just said, hell no. Wow. See what you did, chat room? It's all your fault. I blame the chat room. But guys, coming up, Rat Queens, if you're on YouTube, do me a favor right now. Open a tab, hit Control-T on your Chrome tab, type in twitch.tv/hyperrpg, and watch Rat Queens, the official Rat Queens RPG. Live every single week. Just when you think it's your girlfriend and it's your other housewife. Look at him. Look at this housewife. Zach, fuck you. I love you. But coming up next, Rat Queens, the official Rat Queens RPG here on Hyper Rabbit Power Go. Amazing cast of female RPG players. It's a really good show. You should watch it. If you're reading Rat Queens comics, let us know. You can never trust this ding dong. Fuck you. I've been reduced to shit. That's how I know Zach loves me. It's very brutal and painful. Adam, check your Facebook post. Why? What did you guys do? What have you done? Ah! Got him. But guys, if you end up watching Spider-Man Far From Home, make sure you guys leave a comment down below on the YouTube. Please don't spoil the damn movie for anybody. It's not even out fully yet. Give people the week. Let's wait till Monday or whenever we drop our spoiler review, which will probably be this weekend. I want the Three Amigos Spider-Man review spoilers. You will get one, I promise. We will record it on Friday. It will go up on Patreon first. I think Zach will probably join us for that. Hey, Zach, you want to do a Spider-Man spoiler review with us? Yeah. Zach will not be doing the spoiler review of Spider-Man with us. But we should talk about Comics and Coffee, though, next week. Fuck you, Zach. Whatever. If you're on YouTube, make sure you guys hit that like button. If you're already subscribed, thank you very much. Make sure you hit the bell to get all the notifications, because that's the thing we have to do now, because apparently YouTube does not push shit out to people effectively and efficiently, which is super, super annoying. I'm sorry. We're doing our best. YouTube is a constantly evolving process. We're dealing with the algorithm, because the algorithm just doesn't love us, I guess. I don't know. Whatever. Let's see. Yeah, see? Langley Amelie knows the struggle. Digital comics saved me from the storage crisis. I'm telling you, man, we've got boxes upon boxes upon boxes of comics in this house. And they're just like up on shelves that we can't reach without ladders. So, I don't know. Oh my god, the Facebook post. Guys, what did you do to my Facebook? What's happening here? Do I have to do damage control right now? What's going on? What have you done? I'm terrified. I don't even want to look. What's been going on? Why? Why is this a thing? Why is this a thing? Why are you guys making me nervous? What's going on? I don't trust you guys. YouTube is a constantly devolving process. Hey, okay. Hey, I love that positivity, Blvd. I don't know what I'd do without it. You guys are such trolls, lol. You guys are a bunch of little shits. What'd you do? I love the tough love. I love the tough love, but what'd you do? Who done it? See, I can't even trust you guys. Guys, look out. Make sure you guys check it out and look out for all the content that we're doing. Tomorrow we are off, right? Can I tell that to people? Sick. Zach and Malika will be streaming something. I know Malika likes to cook. She's probably gonna cook for her husband. Zach refuses to cook, I guess. I don't know. That's true. Malika doesn't like Zach cook because Zach's cooking is shit. Just kidding. Zach makes some pretty bomb ribs, though, I will say. Zach, can we get some of those maybe in the next 3 months? 3 months, right? That's a good window. Zach is not having it. Six Flags for July 4th tomorrow. What are you guys doing for July 4th? I only have like 3 more minutes with you guys, but 1 minute. Get those last minute burning questions in before Amir shuts me down and switches it over to something way more fun than me. 1 minute left. Yeah, 4th of July. I don't personally know what I'm doing yet. We're trying to figure it out. My son Lucas and I might go out and do something fun together. I love my son Lucas. He's the best. He's the best boy. Power Rangers? No. What? Why are you asking about that? I'm saying goodbye. Watch Rat Queens. I'm saying goodbye. Amir's cutting me off. Goodbye, everybody.